Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you are new, my name is Wendy and today we're going to be processing these guys right here. Those are the cabbages that we grew. That's one of them. And I was surprised that they all weighed in over 5 pounds, which is really good. That means we're going to get a lot of different types of condiments out of our garden. So today we're going to be making a pickled cabbage slaw and a Piccalilli relish. So we're gonna make those up, can those today, and get them on the shelf. And I have also brought up my 5-gallon crock, washed it out, cleaned it, like sanitized it really well. And we're gonna take whatever cabbage we have left, use our mandolin, shred our cabbages really finely, add some salt to it, and we're gonna make sauerkraut. We can't can it today because it does take several weeks for it to ferment in that crock, but I'm going to show you the steps to get you to the point of canning it. Then when it's ready, I'll probably do a short video and show you how to can that up because it doesn't take too much effort once you have the finished product. So let's get moving. I've already got some stuff on the stove and I will show you what we're cooking up. So let's... And don't toss these. If you have chickens or pigs or animals, they will devour these. So save these aside and then take it down to them later because they will love it. All right, once you have those outer leaves off, we're gonna weigh this guy and see how much it is. And then we're gonna wash it thoroughly and then we're gonna start slicing. This cabbage right here is 5 pounds, 10 ounces. So right here, what we grew in our garden is over 5 pounds. Look at that guy. The easiest way to do this is to cut this off into sections like that. And then we're just gonna use the mandolin from here on out. If you have a guard, you can use it. It's always recommended. I don't, because I think it's awkward. And yes, I have cut myself severely on them, so just be careful. So just take it down, and you're going to need a big bowl for this as well because we have to put salt on this and let it sit for a couple hours. But you can see using the mandolin takes out a lot of the chopping work. So this is just one head of cabbage. So I have way more in here than probably what I need to do the 2 projects I wanted to do. So we're definitely making a big crock of sauerkraut. For our pickled cabbage slaw, we have that in a larger metal bowl, and we are going to add 1/4 cup of non-iodized pickling salt. So we're just gonna sprinkle that over the top. And yeah, I do have a lump there. We'll work that in. I'm just going to take that and then we're going to get in with our hands and massage that in, and we're going to cover it and sit it in a cool place for 2 hours. We have cut up 1 carrot, a couple of banana peppers, 1 jalapeno, and a red onion that we had in the garden. So all of this is going to go into our brine once we have heated it up on the stove and the sugar has dissolved. It has been 2 hours and you can see all of the liquid that has come off of our cabbage. So what we're gonna do is take it through a strainer, or we're gonna dump it into a strainer. And under cold water, we're gonna rinse this off really well. And then we'll separate this out. And then we'll let this continue to drain for a little bit while our brine is heating up. To make our brine, we need 4 cups of white vinegar, and 3 cups of water. And we're using 3.5 cups of sugar. There's 3 and then a half. We're going to turn the heat on to this, and we're going to stir this, and once the sugar has dissolved, let it simmer for just a couple minutes, and then we're going to dump all of our vegetables in the brine while it's still warm to warm up our vegetables. Our brine is simmering at this point, so we are turning it down to low. Moving our ladle over, and we're going to put in our onions, peppers, and carrots first. Getting them all into the brine. Ooh. Then we are going to add our cabbage. With a slotted spoon, you want to stir everything in, blend it all up. There are no spices in this at all, you guys. So this is just vinegar, water, and sugar with your vegetables. Okay, now the original pot that you had your cabbage in, break that out. And all we're gonna do is transfer our vegetables into this pot. We're going to pack the vegetables first, then into our jars, and we are using half pints. We really just wanted to warm up the vegetables just a bit, and that's it. Sometimes doing that helps them pack better into the jars, so that way you don't have as much float of the vegetables. Your jars should be hot at this point. All right, jars are on. Place your funnel. And then start packing your jars with your vegetables here. Now I will take my plastic tool and just go down here and just pack these in. And you want to pack them to a 1-inch headspace, because then we're going to put our brine in and fill the brine to the 1/2-inch headspace. So that is about, this is hot. So that right there is about how high you want it, is to that rim right there. And then we're going to do this with the rest of our vegetables. Let's see if I can move this over. Pack our vegetables in. Trying not to lose too many of them. I use my debubbler tool. Just go like that and just pack it down in. It's easier, I think, in my opinion, to do it that way. And we're taking our brine back over here. And what we're gonna do is ladle your brine that you had on the stove up to the 1-inch headspace. Now, this is packed in here pretty tightly. So take your debubbling tool and get down in there to make sure that brine gets through all of the cabbage and other vegetables. You don't want any air bubbles. And we can adjust for headspace later. That's not a problem. Wipe your rims off really well, getting all of these sugar and bits off. New lid, ring, fingertip tight. That's it. Into the water bath canner. If this is your first time canning, make sure that your water level is at least 2 inches above the tops of the lids themselves. We are going to process this for 15 minutes once this comes to a rolling boil with the lid on. Now, that 15 minutes is for an elevation of 1,000 feet and below. So if you live above 1,000 feet, find yourself a good chart and adjust your time accordingly. And you guys, just like that, we got 7 half pints of pickled cabbage slaw. In this bowl, I have 5 pounds of thinly sliced cabbage. So in order to make sauerkraut, you need to use a canning and pickling salt. I suggest using this because if you use, hang on here, let me turn it around. If you use a kosher salt, you will see it has an anti-caking agent in it, in the ingredients. And that may have a tendency to make your end product not good or actually ruin the ferment itself. So from my perspective, I think it's important to use a canning and pickling salt. We're gonna fill up our crock with our shredded cabbage. And we have a tamper. Now, obviously I should have a bigger one, but this is what we have. Oh, there's a big piece that didn't get all of it. Okay, I think that's good. All right, now we're gonna add our canning and pickling salt. We're gonna sprinkle some of it over the top, and then take your tamper and get in there and just tamp it down. What you're doing is releasing those juices, and then you're just gonna layer it. Once you're done tamping this out, you're gonna add more cabbage and more salt and tamp it down again. So we've brought our crock downstairs and we've set a dinner plate on it, which is almost the same size as the crock itself. And then we took 2 jars that we washed up and filled them with water, put lids on them, and they act as a weight. Top of this crock, I have placed cheesecloth, and that cheesecloth is going to stay on here. Now this crock will stay here for 30 days, and then we'll check it and taste it and see. But every day we're going to have to come in and we're going to have to skim the ooey gooeys that are on top. You guys, I'm pooped. And we still have to can our Piccalilli Relish. So I picked the hottest day yet to do canning. So if you see me wearing these, that's why, because I sweat like crazy. And trust me, if you sweat like I do, these are really nice to have. For the Piccalilli Relish, we have 5 cups of finely chopped cabbage in our bowl. And the recipe calls for 1.5 cups of onion. So I went out to the garden and pulled an onion, a rather large one. And it needs 4 cups of chopped green tomatoes, which we definitely have an abundance of right now because none of them are turning red. So we've got that. And then it calls for 1 cup of bell pepper and 1 cup of red bell pepper. So I've got the bell pepper right here. I do not have red pepper, so I'm using sweet banana peppers. And I'm hoping that this will be enough. So we're just gonna finely chop these up and throw it in our bowl with our cabbage. So we're gonna be adding 3 tablespoons of salt. And when I say salt, I mean canning salt, no iodine salt. So canning and pickling salt right here. 3 tablespoons. And I only used 2 of my green tomatoes because they were really big. So, all right, get in with your hands and then just toss that around. Get everything mixed together well, especially the salt. Get in there with the cabbage. And guys, we're gonna cover this and we're gonna let it sit for 12 hours to overnight. And then we'll whip up our brine. You can see, and it smells so good, you can see in here all of the water that has collected so far. And what we need to do is we have to drain all of this out and rinse it really, really well. Now we're gonna be making a brine to go over this. And whenever we do, that brine is gonna have mustard seeds and ginger root and all kinds of good stuff in it. So we need to get that going first before we do anything else. So let's start making our brine. So we have to take a piece of cheesecloth, and this is one that is reusable. And I know all cheesecloth is, but this was designed to be used again and just washed by hand and dried and used a second time. So we need to make a spice bag using this. So I'm going to show you how to do that with all of the spices that we have to use. My cheesecloth is spread out and is opened, and the first thing we need is ginger. So I've placed some ginger that is coarsely chopped up. You want about 4 tablespoons. Now with this, I'm not overly excited about a lot of that, so I've only put 2 in here. Next, we need a 1/4 cup of pickling spice that is already put together, and they sell it in these nice jars like this. So you can pick those up at Walmart, whatever store is convenient. And 2 tablespoons of mustard seed. Just like that, right in the middle of the bag. Well, right in the middle of the cheesecloth. It's not a bag yet. Okay, everybody does this a little bit differently. We save our rubber bands from when we get the newspaper. So what I like to do is gather all of the sides together, just like that. Twist it around a few times, and you have made a pouch to secure everything in. So all of the contents are in this part right here. And then I take that rubber band and then I just loop it around several times until it becomes tight that nothing's going to come out of it. And then on the last one, since this is such a big cloth, I will loop it around and under, kind of like that. And then once we make our brine, we're just gonna drop that right in. This is our Piccalilli mixture right here. So what we have to do, see all the water on that? We need to strain all of that water off, give it a good rinse, and then we're gonna squeeze out the excess water, and we're just gonna leave the contents in here until we get our brine made. And it smells so good. You need to rinse all that salt off. Well, as much of it as you can. So a really thorough rinse should do the trick. To a large stock pot, you need 3 cups of white vinegar. 1 3/4 cup of water. 1 cup of sugar. 2 teaspoons of turmeric. Now this turmeric will stain your cheesecloth bag, so just keep that in mind. Don't let that stop you from using it, but it will stain it. And then guys, we're gonna take our bag that we made and we're just gonna drop that right in. We're gonna turn our stove on to medium high and we're gonna bring this to a simmer. So Next, we're gonna add in all of our mixture that we drained out. And guys, we're gonna bring this up to a boil and simmer this for 5 minutes. We wanna make sure that that sugar is good and dissolved and all of the flavorings have come out of the spice bag that we made. And we are gonna be using half pints for this recipe. All right, we're gonna stir all this in, and then guys, we're gonna get a lid and cover this. And it does smell really good already. On goes the lid until it reaches a boil. Make sure to stir around that spice bag so that the contents can release their flavors into the brine. And we're gonna set our timer for 5 minutes. Our 5 minutes is up, so I recommend you tasting your brine to see if you need to keep your pickling spice bag in there for a little bit longer or if it's ready to pull it out. So I know for me making this, after 5 minutes, I know I'm good to pull it out. I am gonna try it, but it is good. Now you have the option now to can it like it is. It is still a little watery. Woohoo. Or you can keep it simmering for a little bit and let this thicken up and have more of a commercial type of relish. It is completely up to you. We have hot jars, hot contents, and we're gonna be ladling this in to a 1/2 inch headspace. Now, if you want to at this point, you can put pickle crisp in here. It would be 1/16 of a teaspoon, which is like what? 2 or 3 of those little kernels in each one. It's not a lot, so don't overdo it. But that will help keep it somewhat crunchy. And then we're gonna ladle in our relish. And I wish you could smell this because, oh my golly, it smells so good. Take your debubbling tool and go through to get all of the air pockets out of each jar. And then you may have to come back in and readjust for your head space. That is possible to have to do that. Like I know this one right here that I'm working on, it sank as soon as I touched it. So we'll have to add more liquid to that one. With a wet paper towel, you're gonna wanna wipe the rims off of each jar. Just please be careful because everything is super hot. But you wanna make sure they're good and cleaned off because of all of the sugar and spices that we used. And you wanna make sure they're good and cleaned off because of all of the sugar that was in there. So continue this and then we're gonna put them in the water bath canner. Make sure your jars are covered by 2 inches of water. Once that has reached a rolling boil with the lid on, then start your timer for 10 minutes. And then you want to adjust your time if you are above 1,000 feet in elevation. So find yourself a good chart. Okay guys, we got 5 1/2 pints of Piccalilli Relish and it is delicious. So excited to have this on the shelf. And then we also have back here our other cabbage slaw that we have canned as well. So all of these will go on the shelf for over the winter months for us to enjoy. Thank you so much for coming along with me today and learning how to can different types of relishes and how to make sauerkraut. I know it was a long video, but I do thoroughly appreciate you sticking with me and watching clear to the end. So thank you so much for watching. Take care and God bless, and we'll see you next time. Bye.